Hey everybody, it's Charles, your hobby hero, coming at you with another video. Today we're going to be breaking down what I believe the best deck in the set 3 format will be, Ruby Amethyst. But before we get started, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button down in the bottom corner. I do appreciate it. I do put out regular content about the hobbies that I love the most, with this channel being dedicated to the Lorcana game. Now, you heard me right. I did say I think this is the best deck in the current meta that we have right now. I've tested a number of other decks, and while there's a lot of fun decks that are out there in the set 3 environment, this deck is the only one that consistently performs up to expectations. It doesn't rely on any kind of gimmicks or tricks. It's very hard to disrupt, and at the end of the day is one of the few decks that just has the reset button and be prepared to kind of put the icing on the cake. In this video, we're going to be looking at the deck list that I am currently running, as well as some gameplay footage of this deck versus a number of the other decks in the current meta. If you guys have any questions about the list, it'll be in the description down below, the Dreamborn link for that one. So go check it out. You can copy it, you can play with it, tweak it, make it your own, do whatever you want to do. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on into the list. All right, so here's the deck list. First things first, though, comes in at $238.49 on TCG Player, which is actually pretty low compared to a couple of the other meta decks. The only real new kind of pricey card is the Jim Hawkins in the deck. So if you had, a Ruby Amethyst completed, a last set, he's probably the only additional card that you'd even need to add into that. And he's probably a good chunk of this 238, as a lot of these cards are rare or lower. And like I said, compared to the decks that are running like the copies of 4 copies of Ursula, 4 copies of the new Jafar, 4 copies of the new Robin Hood, which a lot of them are getting doubled up on in those respective color combinations. This one gets away pretty inexpensively, as it doesn't have any of the new Amethyst legendaries in it at all. As you can see, very heavy in the middle of the curve, kind of a lighter top end. So definitely a mid-range kind of control deck that we're going to be trying to pilot here. I'm going to have plenty of stuff to do all through our curve and really just kind of top out. We really top out at the 5 spot with just a spell each in the 6 and 7 spot. So take a look at the cards we have here. Our 1-drops, we have 4 copies of Olaf, 4 copies of Rafiki. I have seen a lot of different combinations of these two. I think this is probably your safest combination of the two. Maybe not quite the safest. You could do 4 Minnie Mouse for Olaf and really have kind of the safest 1-drop package possible. I have tested a number of them, and this is kind of the one that I came down to. I do really like the Chernobog's followers as well. Really, the only thing that put me off from the Chernobog's followers is late game against Steel. Like, you just can't play them at all into the board because they can just play a Tinkerbell and sweep them off the board. So that's why Rafiki did get the slight nod over the Chernobog's followers. I do like that he can trade up into your opponents 1/3 for 1s and still survive. Obviously, the majority of the time, he is going to sit down and be bounced by your 2-drop Mim, ideally, or kind of be able to challenge a little bit more aggressively into that like turn 3 to turn 5 range. Against Steel, he's probably still not going to live for very long, so I wouldn't, rely on him surviving a turn later in the game against any deck that is going to be running Steel. But this is the combination of 1-drops that I like. The 2-drop spot here, we have 2 copies of Cusco and 3 copies of the Madam Mim. And I have no problem with running a full 4 set of Mana Mim. The way I draw, unfortunately, as you'll probably see in the gameplay footage, very rarely do I hit a 1-drop early on curve, which really relegates her into a kind of a bounce of abilities later on. Using her to bounce either the Goat Merlin, Rabbit Merlin, or some other character to generate extra value. And as such, is not super important that I hit her right on curve on turn 2. And then ideally, the 3-drop Mim is a stronger bounce card. So I have this one slightly under that one. which gives me a little bit of room to play cards like Cusco, which is just another more kind of counter tech there against either like the steel or the ruby amethyst plays. The fact that you can kind of put this guy down on the board and kind of quest safely because they don't want to challenge it and give you any card advantage is a very nice aspect. You can also slap either the Maui's Hook or the Merlin Crab on this guy and challenge up very unexpectedly on a big challenge as well, and then draw a card, which is always fun as well. In our 3-drop spot, we get a little clogged here. We have the 3-drop Madam Mim in the Fox form. Not really much explanation needed on her. She was insane last set, and she gets even better this set with the ability to challenge into locations with her Rush ability. 4 power on 3 is very, very ahead of curve compared to a lot of the other 3-drops that are out there. So she can go in and immediately challenge and take off the 1-cost locations that are out there. Her with another character will handle most other locations by themselves, with only 2 locations in the game right now being able to survive, like her plus Maui's Fishhook or her plus the Merlin Crab. Just an excellent card on curve, just a lot of tempo. Also, the bounce effect, obviously, is what we're looking to capitalize a lot in here to reuse and recycle effects from other characters. Maleficent's pretty much been a staple for me in Amethyst since set 1. She is not our best draw spell by any means, but she is inkable. She fulfills the ability to sing friends on the other side, which is always another plus. And then she's cheap enough that we can bounce her with the Fox or the 2-drop Madam Mim and replay her on some turns. So we can quest or sing with her, bounce her to our hand with one of the other Madam Mim cards, and then replay her. She'll be readied, and she'll draw another card when she comes in. So just great all-around card. Merlin as a 2 of here, the crab form. This guy has gotten a lot better with the addition of set 3 because of a lot of locations getting played and his ability to come in and immediately add 3 damage, possibly more. I've done turns where I've played Merlin on a character, bounced Merlin that turn, and used his ability to give something +6 that's getting ready to challenge into a location. You've got a couple Sapphire decks that are out there that are playing like McDuck Manors now, so having that ability to come in and add 6 power kind of out of the blue is very, very nice. And again, it only costs 3 plus whatever trigger ability you want to use with it. So decent stats. Again, 3/3 is respectable on the 3 spot. Can sing friends on the other side still as well, since he cost 3, and can just generate some really favorable exchanges even if they aren't playing locations. Goat Merlin, still the GOAT. In set 3, he is I'm going to say he's slightly less valuable to the deck than he was in set 2. Now, having said that, he will still just win you games, out of the blue, and you can drop either multiples of them in a turn that your opponent hasn't accommodated the math for, or bounce and replay one in the same turn that your opponent hasn't accommodated for. That last little, it's usually about 2 lore that you can kind of squeeze out towards the end of the games, can make some big differences. Plus, just over the long term of the game, I feel like he's kind of become so commonplace that people just kind of start to ignore like his trigger effect of entering and exiting play for that extra lore, and they're either challenging into him early or just not playing around it enough in the later game. When you can start closing on like that 12 lore plus area, like this guy's ability becomes much, much more relevant. And again, inkable, and still is able to sing your friends on the other side, and that 4 body is nothing to scoff at either. Our next 4 drops are going to be Merlin, the rabbit form, similar to Maleficent, comes in and draws a card. He also draws a card, though, whenever he is leaving play, which is very nice. Now, stats aren't anything special, but again, with the Maui's Fishhook and with the Merlin Crab in there, he can trade up to some pretty favorable exchanges, especially when people tend to leave him alone on the field because they don't want you to draw that other card at the expense of their challenge. Just a lot of value with this guy. I could easily see him at a 4 of. I'm trying to keep my uninkables a little lower, which is the only reason why I have him at a 3 of currently instead of 4. Very rarely are you upset to draw this guy unless you just need something to ink that turn. It takes us over to Prince Eric, Expert Helmsman. I am a big fan of this card, and I've seen some people who are already cutting him from the Ruby Amethyst list, and I, for the life of me, cannot figure out why. At worst, he is going to get removed by Hades or Let It Go, which is about as good of a resolution as you can hope to come up with dealing with this character. That's also if he sits out there for a turn. If you've got the ability to play him and either sing or play Teeth and Ambitions on the same turn, you can go ahead and just take care of it there. As I mentioned before, him plus the crab or Maui's fish hook allows him to swing into a character, trade in that exchange, and then after he is banished, choose and banish another character. Now, just keep in mind when you're playing this deck, his is a requirement to trigger of being banished compared to a lot of the other Merlins in the deck, which trigger just by leaving play. So don't get confused on that. He does need to be banished. Now, he can be banished in a challenge or can be banished by an effect and still trigger. But if you either bounce him to your hand or if they send him to your ink well, then he will not trigger his effect. Worst case scenario, this guy also just generates 2 lore, so they can't ignore him for too long. You just plop him out there. If they don't want to challenge to create a favorable exchange for you and you don't have a way to kill him immediately, then just start questing with him. Just start gaining that 2 lore. Eventually, they'll have to take action and deal with him, or eventually you'll draw something that can terminate him voluntarily and take care of one of their characters as well. Now at our 5 drops, we've got Jim Hawkins, Space Traveler. This guy was my number 1 pick for most impactful cards out of this set. This guy's ability is insane. I've already seen people saying that they're cutting him from his list, and I just don't understand it. The amount of value that you get out of this guy is absolutely crazy high to me, and I just can't imagine running a list without him. By himself, I mean, let's just say worst case scenario and you have to play this guy without anything else. He's a 4/4 2 lore generator for 5. That is not a bad stat line, especially for this deck. We don't have a lot of 2 lore generators in this deck. That 4 willpower actually survives a lot of what people are playing right now. 3 kind of being that magic number of attack. Not saying it's invincible, but it does conveniently escape a lot of the more easy removal, the ability to challenge him with a 2-drop Mem, the 1-drop Rafiki, Smash, just to name a few of the more common ones that he kind of escapes, being able to be 1-for-1 challenged for, which is very nice. So again, that's his worst case scenario. You're getting a decent stat line for a 5-drop character who is also inkable. You can also just ink this guy if the opportunity does not arise to where you need that stat line. Now on the high side of this, you are going to be able to generate 12 ink worth of value on your turn 5 play optimally. By playing him and then dropping the RLS, you're saving yourself the cost of 4 from playing RLS. And then you get to bypass the 3 movement cost of the RLS because he moves to it for free. So you have 7 ink costs that he's going to negate off of the RLS, all worked into his 5, which is absolutely insane. That brings 4 lore generation into play on turn 5, which we don't have anything in the game that does that right now, with a total of 12 willpower worth of damage that they can take before they're both removed from the field. That is just an insane amount of value to have come in on a turn 5 play. I'm not saying it's insurmountable. I'm not saying that there aren't ways for people to deal with it, but it forces people to deal with it. Like if it's a stalemate board and you get to play Jim Hawkins with either the Queen's Palace or RLS Legacy and play, like your opponent has to do something then. Like they cannot let you go and untap with the 4 lore on the board, the extra effect of either the Queen's Palace of drawing a card, or the extra effect of having all your guys the following turn being able to quest in and then gain evasive by moving all over to the RLS Legacy. Like they have to do something, which forces them to make plays, which forces you to be able to hopefully make favorable exchanges after they make those plays. It's just a ton of value. Like there is no card that has been printed yet that negates the value that this guy brings to the table. There are plenty of answers to what he does, but none of them at anywhere near the same kind of cost that he's throwing out there. You talk about, if they have a Rise of the Titans in their hand to take care of the location, they're still paying 3 and a card out of their hand to deal with the location that you played with Jim Hawkins for free. So for 2 more ink, you've got a 4/4 2-lore generator on the board compared to the 1/1 action that they played that leaves them no character on board, period. There aren't any rush characters to date that can challenge the locations that he's dropping into play as a 1-for-1. And even if they do, those characters are now exerted for you to come in and either throw a Maui's Fishhook or a Crab Merlin on one of your lower cost guys and trade up into that bigger guys, protecting the rest of your board. I've said it before, I'll keep saying it again, I cannot make any argument on why this character should not be in a Ruby list right now if you are playing it. There's just too much value that is built into this card that I just don't understand why you would neglect playing it. If you don't have a location in your hand and a 4/4 2-lore generator is not what you want to be playing at that point in time, you just ink him. If the guy was uninkable, I could see making an argument for that, finding those situations where he's just not a playable option and he's stuck in your hand. Sure, I get it. But the fact that all the upside that this guy does have, and you throw on the fact that he is inkable too, if it doesn't go your way, guy's an auto include in red, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. Next one up, Maui, pretty self-explanatory. If you're playing Ruby since set 1, you're playing this guy as a 4/, 6 power with rush, 5 willpower, means he's probably going to survive the exchange, take another character down with him. With Maui's Fishhook, you get the extra synergy of the fact that you can now activate it for free, so you can activate this guy on curve, give him evasive if you want him to stick around and you don't want him to be able to get finished off by your opponent's small characters. Or you can just throw him up to a 9 power character and challenge any location in the game as a 1-for-1 exchange currently. Just an absolutely brutal card that gets a little bit of assistance in this set as well with his Fishhook coming in. And then as always, you have the Mim package that you can bounce this guy back to your hand and recycle as well. I am running 2 Lady Tremaines in my 6-drop spot. I've seen a lot of people who have opted for the Madame Medusa, and I have tested the Madame Medusa, and I'll be honest with you, I wasn't super impressed with her, and I'll tell you why. While she can target very specific characters, so if they have, gone wide on the board, they have 2 or 3 or 4 characters on the board, and she is still able to go in and pinpoint problematic characters like the 5-drop Beast Tragic Hero. There's also a number of cards that she can't touch. And following up cards like Be Prepared, or even just if your opponent just doesn't have a board and plays like a Tinkerbell or a Chernabog or something just large like that, you can't do anything with her. She literally does nothing. And I don't like that on my uninkable cards. I don't like an uninkable card in my deck that can just be completely bricked up. Lady Tremaine is always going to banish something on the board. It may not be the thing you want to banish, but she at least is going to take care of something. Stats-wise, too, the fact that she quests for 2 is pretty significant. They can't really leave her alone out there, and she does trade decently favorably with what's getting played in the meta right now. Robin Hood can't swing into her by himself and take her out because of that 4 willpower. Like we said, that 4 willpower is kind of that magic point of survivability right now in the current meta. And honestly, the one strength difference between her and Madame Medusa is pretty inconsequential in a lot of the exchanges that you'd be wanting to go into. So I just like the fact that this character is always going to be live. has that 2 Lord generation. And, if you want, you do have the option to shift her in if you are playing a different build with either the 2-drop Lady Tremaine, or if you're in Emerald and you have Morph to put her on. I do like that she has that option to shift as well. Now, getting into our songs, we have Two Teeth and Ambitions. This gets inked a lot of the time, but when you do need it, it is a pretty invaluable tool, especially in like the Steel Amethyst Jafar wheel. This card is really good because it allows you to play Prince Eric and sing this card in the same turn if you need to, potentially taking out 2 of their Jafar shift targets in the same turn. There are some opportunities earlier in games too to take out like Robin Hoods or their Blue Fairies, etc. Some of the more, kind of evasive and harder to deal with turn 1 options. I like it at 2. I've played it as high as 4. Was in 3 for a while, and honestly, like I said, you really usually only ever play 1 copy of it in a game. And at 2 copies, I see it enough to where this is where I decided to leave it at for now. 4 copies of Friends on the Other Side. Again, draws 2 cards, has the option to be played for free once you get a 3-drop in play. Worst case scenario, it is an inkable card as well. This card, as long as there are Amethyst decks, this card's probably going to be a 4 of. I don't understand. I don't see a reason why you would not play max copies of this card, as it always has something, either ink or the ability to pay 3 and draw 2, or the ability to just exert a character 3 or more and draw 2. And then our last song here, we have Be Prepared at 3 of. You could run this as a 4 of. I don't like, again, to run any more uninkables than I absolutely have to. And again, this is a card you're usually only are going to have to play once in a game, occasionally twice in a game. Very rarely do I encounter a game where I have played 3 of them, unless I just had nothing else to do and I had to play a 3rd copy of the card. So because of that, I left it at 3. I see the card about once per game, which is about what I want to see it at. So I'll probably leave it at 3. But if you like a little bit more control in your build, then you can bump that up to 4. And then we have our 2 copies of Maui's Fishhook. Now, this card, when I originally built the deck, was 2 copies of Agrabah. I wanted more targets for Jim Hawkins. But as the meta started to kind of evolve, people were playing more high-power characters. They were switching over to the Rafikis. They were playing more Merlin Crabs. They were playing more Rushers. And honestly, Agrabah just never survived with its 5 willpower. So I decided to switch them over to the Maui's Fishhook. In the mirror match, it helps a lot because you are able to challenge into bigger characters with your smaller characters, as well as charging into their locations with that +3. The evasive ability does come up every once in a while, especially if your opponent is on the Amethyst Steel Jafar list and they're playing the Blue Fairies. This allows you to challenge into those Blue Fairies as well. Just don't forget that Maui does activate this for free, which means you just have to exert it. You don't have to pay the 2 ink. So it does allow for some on-curve plays with that as well. All in all, I've been very happy with this card as a 2 of in the deck, and in those matchups where it's really not important against either like aggressive aggro decks, you can just ink the card, which is nice as well. I know in the past they've made these kind of niche items uninkable, which is always kind of hurt. But this one's actually got a pretty broad application, and it's inkable to boot. Brings us to our locations. I am currently playing 6 locations. I've seen people play up to 8 locations in the more mid-range control builds for Queen's Castles, for RLS Legacies. I, again, don't like a ton of uninkables, so I have it at a 4-2 split. Now, people are getting better at playing against locations, which is why, I said I had kind of moved away from playing any of the lower willpower locations. But these locations have a high enough willpower that you will usually take multiple resources from your opponent to eliminate them in a single combat, which is very, very nice. Again, if nothing else, just to slow them down. I've had games where I have played a Jim Hawkins out, knowing that they're going to get rid of the Queen's Castle, that I played with it that following turn, but that it was going to keep them from generating like 3 to 4 lore and allow me to challenge into a lot of those lore generators that they have. So I have been very happy with both of these locations at the numbers that they are on here. All right, so we got a mirror match right out of the gates. Let's see how our counter measures go. This hand is absolutely dog water. We're getting rid of all of it. We'll see if we've got anything worth keeping afterwards. A 1-drop. There we go. And a 3-drop. And a 4-drop. So no 2-drop currently. We will get 2 draws before then. So that does help. Pixelborn Patcha. Posterata up here. Okay. We got a more aggressive build, it looks like. These rushers should help with that. Very aggressive build. All right, so we got evasive. We've got rush. It is unfortunate I can't do anything here. Drawing 3 uninkables too. Ouch. Might have to start inking our rushers here before too long. Prince Eric will give us a nice option here. So ideally, he doesn't have a card draw card here on 3. Doesn't look great for friends on the other side going to the bin. Interesting. All right, so definitely not a mirror inked colors, but this is a whole new build. And yep, we're going to have to ink one of our rushers, which is pretty unfortunate. That's decent. Die on a 20-turn clock to this Pascal here pretty soon. Kidding, mostly. The Prince Eric should be able to deal with him. Captain Hook. I got some interesting choices. I am so lost at this point. Well, it gains a lore when they challenge. The number of uninkables I've drawn this game is hilarious. That's about half of them that I have in my deck. We're on turn 4. I'm going to guess Facilier challenges here. Oh, snap. Okay. Well, I guess I'm glad I have these Prince Erics now. Let's see here. Prince Eric number 2, I guess. What am I inking? I guess. This here. Prince Eric slows us down tremendously. If he doesn't want to lose Facilier, he is going to go ahead and challenge him. Okay. Get his guy back. Characters getting rush. Okay, not super worried about that one. Let's just go ahead and play Tremaine, see what he does here. Not surprising. Got the Stitch. Really nothing to do with this Rafiki at this point. I mean, I can challenge Jolly Roger, but I don't really need to. Interesting. Well, he's opened up his Pascal now. And I am definitely not one to pass up an opportunity. Ink this Maui. Go ahead and take a shot at the Jolly Roger there. A pretty good spot at this point. Yeah, he's got 12 lore, but I don't foresee many other big lore generators in the deck other than the Facilier. Now, obviously, I've never encountered this list before, so we could be surprised, but Ruby Amethyst is not known for high lore generators. That's particularly good for us, I guess. He knows we've got the Tremaine in our hand, so he's probably going to be hesitant to ink anything. I don't know what I want to play here. I think I just want to play him and get the second rabbit out here. No luck getting a location, but we could still hit one. At this point, like if he's playing Be Prepared, this doesn't feel great. Like he needs to be prepared this board, but I'm going to draw 2 cards off of it, and he's going to be down to 2 cards in his hand. Okay. All right. That's fine. Really? 2 of those? That's fine. I don't need to play out. I mean, if he is playing a Be Prepared in his deck, I think I'm just going to hold on to him. Like, they're 2 lore generators. It doesn't give me lethal next turn. So I might as well play around him possibly having a Be Prepared. There we go. It's pretty good. Also pretty good. I go with the extra ink. I'm gonna go with the card draw. Just hope he doesn't have a Maui. What is that? 4, 16, 17. I'm going to go ahead and plop this out here. That's going to put us very close to lethal next turn, even if he has it, be prepared. This is 18, 19. Back down to 18. Sure, we'll draw another card. We'll quest. Play the legacy. We'll move to it, giving my guy evasion. Play out the board. That should pretty much wrap it up. There's nothing in this game that's going to take out both of those locations. All right. All right. Looks like Steel Song possibly this time with Amber and Steel. I am just not getting opening hands that I can keep here. We'll keep one card at least this time. All right. 1 drop. Still no 2 drops. Okay. At least I'm on the play. Whoa, that was close. So I'll at least get 1 turn out of my Rafiki. Cinderella. Okay. Which means we will be questing with Rafiki. All right. Yep. Hot joke's on you. I didn't have anything to bounce it with anyways. Oh, shoot. I gotta play something. Not the transition I was hoping for. I mean, if he does something dumb like ping for 1, I will definitely take advantage of it with my Merlin. Oh, man. He's going to wheel for me and give me a new hand. Be great. Oh, missed? No way. That's not a thing. Wow. Crazy. I am very much surprised he gave me that out. Can I keep my hand low? I don't really want to go much higher than this. He failed to find anything on the aerial, but that doesn't mean he will continue to fail. She can also sing Along Came Zeus. Take out my crab. drops a character. She can sing Strength of a Raging Fire. Just keep inking all those Robin Hoods. I don't have a problem with that. There's the Whole New World. All right. We got to be prepared out of the deal. That's pretty good. Let's see if he got what he needed. Oh, bare necessities. I get one of my. Oh no, legacy. I don't get that at all. Well, I mean, if he had known what I was going to draw, I guess. I think I'm going to go there. Ink my goat. Then play my Maui. Doesn't really have the ability to sing at this point, and Robin Hood can't finish off either of them by himself. And if he shifts into the bigger Robin Hood, that's fine. Sing with Maui next turn. I discard Chernabog. And one other card. What was it? This Holy World. Do you only have one card left in hand? Okay. I don't think I would have done that. I feel like you're kind of the aggro deck in this matchup, and you're trying to play control, which is really not going to end well because your late game control is much worse than mine. Chernabog. All right. Book. Oh my goodness. I mean, if he challenges here, that's a win for me. Yeah, it's great. We're just going to be prepared often. Help settle it up a little bit for you. Gonna go ahead and ink something and throw a 2-drop in down there for me too. That'd be great. So bizarre. Like, he knows I have 2 be prepared in his hand. Like, do you think I'm not going to play them right now? Like, I'm gonna ink something. Next turn, I should get 2 4-drops down. Part of me would very much like to be prepared again next turn. But the Whole New Worlds, I'm out of be prepareds, but I will have, well, at least a way to deal with Stitch. . 'Cause, 'Stitch. 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 Part of me... I'll do him instead. Part of me would like to have played Be Prepared there. I guess we'll see if he wheels here. Then I clearly made a mistake. If he doesn't, if he goes super wide, I'm in a decent spot. And I've got my Prince Eric insurance policy here. Is thinking very hard. I can't imagine he's already out of gas for the Stitch. I mean, if he's got a 6-card hand bricked up, then that's pretty problematic. Okay. That's fine. Wow. Did not see that coming. Chernabog number 2. I don't think I've ever had so many Chernabogs played against me. Ahead and play Eric. I think I'm gonna head and bounce my rabbit here too. Not terrible. And get this Chernabog down. Okay. It's interesting. Should have played that Kita first if you didn't want to lose your Chernabog. A real question here is... I go to 10. I feel like if I don't want him to be able to sing next turn. What does it give him? Maybe another Chernabog. Just going to chain Chernabogs. If he doesn't come out strong this turn, I feel pretty good about next turn. Be able to drop Queen's Castle, Merlin, and move over to it. Yeah. So play him first, just in case, right? Sorry, trying to move here. There we go. So now if he wheels, He's using his turn. And I'll still get to draw the extra cards next turn. Yeah. Gosh. Do I even need to draw a card next turn? Probably not. Let's go wide. The 6 lure next turn. Won't draw any extra cards, but he's playing steel, so I might not anyways. There. Wrath of the Titans or swing in with the Here Comes Zeus back up. So I'd rather just get a little bit of wide on the lure. He could always wheel this turn too, so better just get extra cards out of my hand. Beast. Along came Zeus. That is not where I thought that was going to go. Okay. It's pretty good. Let's see here. Oh, dang, dang. It should put a nice little bow on it for me. Can't wheel next turn. Profitably, at least, anyways. Like, at most 5. Sure, we'll move her there. 5 ink left over after a wheel. Good game. All right, we got Emerald, Amethyst, Bounce. It looks like could be not Bounce, but probably that's probably the best opening hand we've had so far. Actually, has a curve. Get rid of that and that. It's like the super aggro version. I may hold on to this Eric. Teeth and Ambitions would make that really good. That fish hook's a blank in this matchup, but let's see. Okay, yeah, it looks like it's the Bounce version. Oh, no 1-drop. That's pretty good for me. Chernobog's Followers, Enda Flynn Rider, sure. Drop here. Oh. Yeah, those kits don't do much in this matchup. Wow, he didn't challenge their quest there. That's surprising. I would be surprised if I need to challenge bigger here. Yeah, I don't know. I am. This deck doesn't really have any big toughness stuff, so just getting a body out there. I think I'd rather have the extra body versus that. I don't know what he's going to do with this Ursula here. Bounce both of them, maybe. Well, that kind of changes what I want to do. I feel like I challenge both here. Gosh, Jim Hawkins into the RLS does sound good. I'm gonna play Merlin. See what we get here. Ooh, piece of candy. She could play. There's really not much actually I care that she plays at this point. Like, Sudden Chill would probably be the best card for her to play. No, that's fine. Five drop. Yeah, don't have a song. Would have pitched it if I did. This deck struggles with locations. Oh, that's super good. I'll lose it to a 1-drop. Quest there. I think I'll keep him back. Loses his lure generator, and I draw a card. Can't challenge it with the other two. So, oh my goodness. That is very surprising. Let's see here. Man, if he has another 2-drop Ursula, not playing the goat here could be really bad. What we got here? 7 lore. Like, he has to get rid of this turn. So that's 3. Both of those are going to come in here. Two cards in hand. I'm going to go goat. And then we're going to go ahead and drop the Be Prepared. there. I'll move him there. Blink. It's not terrible. Let's see. I don't feel like I need Maui in this matchup. Be Prepared is on the table. 5. I'm at 4. I don't really want him to draw any cards right now. Queen's Castle doesn't do much here. I can get it pretty easily. Helps him on the race. Got a quest with her? No, okay, no. Can't kill that, so I guess we gotta play her. Get that Ursula. 7, 3. $18. Medusa, 2-drop. Madam Mim will get it. Maui's Hook would get it. Just a few things that would do it for me here. Actually, any of the Mims will do it because I have the Jim Hawkins. I've only played one. I can't remember if I inked any of this game or not. It's going to be a close one. Okay. That is interesting. Yep. Nothing? Wow. Let's see. Draw. There's not a lot in Amethyst Ruby that I think that can close the gap. 15 lore, or 5 lore rather, to get him up from 15 is I think probably too much. So that's pretty good. All right, that should do it. So there you guys have it. There's my Ruby Amethyst list as well as some gameplay footage. If you guys have any feedback or comments, questions, I'd love to hear about them down in the comment section below. And until next time, guys, Hobby Hero out.